A recent Wall Street Journal survey informs us that 70% of people believe that inflation and the high cost of food is really causing a problem for them. It's giving them a lot of mental stress, depression, anxiety, and restlessness, of which I'll be talking about during this episode. But what I'm going to share today is all about steps that lead to money mastery. I believe that today is very, very important that we all understand what our money is doing and that we're controlling our money and our money is not controlling us through excess spending, overspending, not budgeting, purchasing things spur of the moment where we really need to think things through. So during this episode, I'm going to cover five different areas. But before I get started, I'll just share a little bit about myself. I have over 3 decades of financial management experience. I'm a certified financial manager, and I have worked for Fortune 500 companies such as Mobil Oil Company. I've worked for the United States Air Force on Capitol Hill and for other businesses. And so financial management has always been the center of what I do. And I want to share that expertise with you today. Now, this is the second part of a two-part series that I've put together, is showing people how they can not only develop their growth money mindset, but also have a debt-free mindset as well. So if you're ready, I'm ready. So let's get started. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. And I have here what I call the 5 tips that you can use on your financial journey. They include a growth versus a scarcity mindset, having smart financial habits, having that debt-free mindset, which I'm really going to get into, and the all-important money and mental health. It's not discussed a lot, but it really is pertinent to almost everyone. So it's something we'll talk about today. And of course, our end goal is financial independence. And so I'll get started here. And first of all, I'll be talking about the growth mindset and a scarcity mindset so that you can get an idea of each of them. Now, when it comes down to the definition of mindset all by itself, mindset is all about how one views the world. And particularly and specifically for this session, it's all about the money mindset. So we're going to focus in and hone in on the money mindset. And people have two different mindsets. They either have what we call the growth mindset or a scarcity mindset. And so that growth mindset is really defined as abundance mindset, whereas in the universe and in the world, there's unlimited money, prosperity. And then in the scarcity mindset, there's a limit, there's lack, there's less. And so when we see the difference between the two, I'm going to just discuss just a few of them so you can get an even better idea. But a person that has a growth mindset is willing to take on their financial challenges. They take them on, understanding that they have a certain amount of debt that they have and they've built up over the months or the years, and they have to face the truth. And the truth is, you're going to have to find a way to pay it off, whether it's getting a side hustle, whether it's just sacrificing, making some sacrifices with what you do with your money. And then on the scarcity side of things, people are not interested in their finances whatsoever. They just look at it from the perspective of that's just the way it is. You're always going to be in debt, and I'm not even going to try to get out of this financial hole that I'm happen to be digging for myself. And then for a mindset, from the growth mindset, people are willing to pay their debts off and pay them off now. They're going to find ways to pay them down, whether they use a snowball effect, which means they're going to pay the lowest bill off and then go to the next and do the same, or they're going to take the avalanche approach, which is the highest interest rate for a given debt, and then paying that off, but still making the minimum payments for the other bills that are smaller in terms of the interest rate, lower interest rate. And so a person who's in the scarcity mindset, they don't even care. Whatever, I'll just deal with it and go from there. And then a person with a growth mindset is interested in investing in their future. And in their future, it means that they're looking at retirement someday. Perhaps they're looking at transitioning from being an employee to being a entrepreneur, starting their own business or partnership, whatever it may be. Whereas a person with um, a mindset of a scarcity They are really not interested in paying the bill, setting up any strategies to take care of it, or anything. And so this just gives you a difference between the two. And so if we look at an individual that has that I look at and I have researched over time. I looked at Robert Kiyosaki, and I've mentioned him in the previous episode of Wealth Academy podcast. And even though he has the world's number one best-selling personal development book, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad, he was not rich when he first started out. In fact, he was in debt. He was getting rejected by publishing houses, and things just were not working out for him. And he had so much debt that his wife didn't even know about it. And then finally, when he had to confront her with the problem he was having, she just encouraged him to write a letter, call, and meet with people to let them know that even though he can't pay it now, he will in the future. And that's exactly what he did. And as they say, the rest is history. Now he's one of the wealthiest people in the world. And a lot of it has to do with Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. And so I just want to put that out there because what I'm showing you and sharing with you is that he transitioned from a scarcity mindset to a growth money mindset. And that made all the difference with him. It can make this difference with you as well as with me. And so when we look at this, it lets us know that if he could do it, so can we. So let's go on to the next very important aspect when we look at the financial journey. And that entails making some smart financial habits, taking these habits and changing, because that's what transformation is all about. It's all about making changes. It's all about willing to make the changes and then taking the action to do so. So the first thing one wants to do if they're in a lot of debt, like a lot of Americans are, because we're in a consumer economy, so a lot of people are in debt. In fact, the average household debt for families in the United States is 104,000 per household. And it's probably a lot more than that for other people, but that's what the average is coming out to. And remember, we're in a type of economy, whereas when we look at our gross national debt, we're looking at $35 trillion and counting. And that's a lot. And as I stated, how do we stop and get out of this hole we're digging financially as a country? We have to do it one household to the next. It's personal finances, because we all have our own personal finances that's a part of the greater national economy as well. So we want to pay off those debts, and by paying off those debts, it's going to increase our credit score. It's also going to give us the opportunity to have a lower interest rates if we need to go in for loans or credit cards, what have you. And then when we look at some of the major debts that are out there that people are worried about, of course, is inflation. And 62% of people are going to make their decision on who they're going to vote or elect to office based on the economy, because that's the number one issue with Americans, citizens today. And the issues are the increasing price of food. You're looking at healthcare costs. You're looking at medical uh, costs when you have to pay for prescription medication, student loans, credit card debt, you name it, even the mortgage as well. And then you want to start budgeting. So you want to write down what your budget happens to be. It's very basic, very fundamental. Just simply write down the creditors that you owe money to, and then look at what your income is, and you subtract one from the other, and it tells you where you are, what your money mindset is at this time. But our overall goal is to be able to pay off all of our debts as best we can, and then start saving. Saving is the next thing after the budgeting. Once we're doing that, all the bills that we formerly had, we can now put it in savings. And so one asks the question, well, what do you do after you save the money? Just leave it in the bank? No, what you want to do next is start investing. So that's next in terms of having good financial habits. Because once you start investing, let's say in real estate, stocks and bonds, mutual funds, and other instruments, then at that point, that's where your money starts to grow. That's where the money mindset happens. It starts to take place. And it can't happen if you have a scarcity mindset. And then lastly, but not least, everything here we're talking about is about that financial security. We want to have that financial security because that's who we are purposed to be. We were never purposed to be in debt the way that we are, but we do live in a type of country that's consumer based. And every 5 minutes or every 2 minutes, you watch on television, every commercial, they're selling things, they're selling me things, and people get caught up into that. And the fact, as I mentioned before in the previous episode, is that the worst thing could have happened is people can deliver products in one day in 24 hours because people are really buying into that. They're leaning into it. But when they're leaning into it, most of the time it has debt attached to it. So the next thing that we're going to talk about right now is the practical steps to develop a debt-free mindset. Now, a debt-free mindset is really all about paying particular attention to your relationship with money. You want to have this conversation with your money. Hey, money, how are we doing today? Money is saying, if you're doing good with that growth money mindset, we're doing great. But if you have that scarcity mindset, money is going to tell you, we're hurting and we're digging a hole and we need to stop in order to get out of this hole so that we can be fresh again. We can have a new lease on life and not have that pressures of life. So some of the steps to help develop a money mindset is to shift the perspective on money. In other words, be accountable for all the money that you spend. So that's money mindfulness. And you take that money mindfulness and you really invest in time, tracking your costs. For me, for example, every day I get online, I'll track what my bank accounts are and making sure, and then I'll look at the debts that I may have, and then I will take care of them. And that's what we all have to do. We have to be very conscious and we have to be very intentional if we're to turn things around. And then the next step is to set clear financial goals. We have to have goals, people. We absolutely have to have goals, especially for our financial goals. Just as we are all leaders because we have to lead our lives, part of leading our lives is also being able to have resources in which can help to make our life better. And it could be the income that we have coming in. And it really helps us set clear financial goals for the future. We can't do anything about yesterday, but we can do something about today and we can project for the future. So we don't want to set some clear financial goals. For example, you may decide in the year 2025, you want to save $1,000 a month or $5,000 a month. And you want to save that money so that you can invest that money and you can invest in real estate. So people ask, well, that means I have to buy a house or apartment complex? No. What it means is that you can invest in fractional shares of real estate. For example, you can invest in grocery stores. You can invest in apartments. You can invest in a house. So there are many forms and ways of doing it. You can invest in stocks and just any manner of things that you can invest in. So step three in terms of developing a money mindset is to automate your financial behaviors. In other words, you can set up your account where you have your income goes directly for direct deposit. Then you can have bills set up so that you can pay all of your bills in a timely manner. And that way you can use an online service, pay your debts off. You don't have to worry about being late because late uh, payments count against you on your credit score. And it's all about your credit score and your financial health and your financial well-being. And then step four is to approach things from a positive mindset and looking at financial influences. As I mentioned before, Warren Buffett is one of the people that I look up to primarily because he's just really fundamental. He's very basic. He's not boasting and bragging about his money, even though he's worth close to $200 billion. And he lives in the same house that him and his wife, his late wife, had moved into when they were married in 1958. He drives the same car. He doesn't go to fancy restaurants. He likes his McDonald's senior card. And he likes that. I'll tell you the story of the time that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett was in China. And so Warren Buffett told Bill Gates, hey, I'd like to take you to lunch. So they went to McDonald's and he took his McDonald's senior card to purchase the food. And they said, well, you can't use it here in China. You can use it in the United States, but not in China. But I thought that was funny because here's a man that can afford anything he wants to, and yet he's really fundamental. And I'm going to share my quote with you. Rich people live like they're poor, and poor people live like they're rich. And that particular quote will always be a very popular quote because it does kind of epitomize the mindset that rich people have and the mindset that some poor people have. And so this is something important, but these are practical steps to develop a debt mindset. Now I'm going to an issue that's very, very important. And this issue really has to do with mental health and money. Oftentimes people don't talk about it, but it's very important that we have this conversation today. And a lot of people facing those challenges that I had mentioned before, that they are in debt up to the tune of household about 104,000 per person, which means you're going to have to be making some income to pay all of those bills off. But when a person's money is not in alignment with who they are, in other words, they have control of the money and money mastery, they have things such as stress, anxiety, depression, and restlessness. And this is all brought about by the stressors of having financial challenges. And as a result of this, a lot of people want them to know that you can seek help and you can receive help because it's not anything that's unusual. But there are a lot of debt relief organizations that are out there. There are nonprofits out there. There are ways that you can convert your credit card bills, for example, and you can have them get a 0% APR on a credit card. So you can take a credit card that has a balance on it, and let's say the interest rate is anywhere between 25 and 27%, and you would save over the course of time about $2,300 if you were to pay it within 18 months. So it is a way to save money, and then people can go to organizations and they can get debt relief. They can go to their state. Most states have debt relief organizations. But always remember this, and I'm sharing this with you now, that money challenges can impact your mental health. And we have to take care of our mind, body, and our spirit. And we also have finances as a part of that. And ultimately, what our goal is to become financially independent. And we can become financially independent, but we just have to be committed to it. And by just owning up to it, like I mentioned earlier about Robert Kiyosaki owning up to all the debt that he had, and his wife really encouraging him to talk to his debtors, investors, people who were invested in his business, and set something up. And if he could do it, you can too. So can I. And so we want to put ourselves in that position where we become financially independent and never, ever go back to being in debt, so much debt that it is causing mental health issues. So when we look at financial independence, it's all about the long run, long term in terms of wealth building. And it's in the long term because people are living longer today. And as a result of living longer today, you're going to need more money heading into retirement, or what we call your golden years. And so it's very important that we focus everything that we have. It could be profit sharing by a company you work for. For every $2 that you invest in yourself, the company you're employed with invests $1. And so there are different ways of doing that, setting up an IRA account, individual retirement account at IRA, and then other tools and instruments that are out there as well. And so I'm going to come to a conclusion here, but before we go, I want to kind of go back over everything I've covered. And when I looked at your financial journey, it could entail better understanding of the growth versus scarcity mindset, having smart financial habits, debt-free mindset, money and mental health, understanding that, and then, of course, working towards our goal, which is financial independence. And this is very important. And what I want you to do at this point, I'm going to challenge you to follow the last two episodes that I have here. This one is Steps That Lead to Money Mastery, and the other one was How to Develop a Growth Money Mindset and How It Can Unlock Your Financial Freedom. Look at those two episodes, and this will help you. You can go here to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and have your family, friends, and colleagues do the same. But it's the www.youtube.com/the at symbol and Wealth Academy podcast. And that's my channel. Go out there, provide some comments, subscribe, and you're going to see a lot of episodes that I have on there that can help you out. And my goal for you is to help you to become financially independent and understanding how a growth money mindset can get you on that path. My time is up, and I thank you for yours. And I'll see you on the next episode of Wealth Academy Podcast. And I hope that you had an enjoyable time learning this. So pass it on to your neighbors, pass it on to your friends, and then pass it on to your colleagues. And in the end, it's all about having that really relationship with money. My name is Paul Lawrence Vann. I thank you for your time. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next episode of Wealth Academy Podcast.